10 Republicans take the stage Thursday night in Cleveland for the first candidates debate of the 2016 election cycle. The crowded GOP field is being led by Donald Trump's summer surge, which has scrambled the GOP nominating contest. WSJ Washington Bureau Chief Jerry Seib joins us now from D.C. to break down the things to watch in this first debate. Welcome, Jerry. First of all, Donald Trump. Few took him seriously just a few weeks ago, but according to WSJ NBC News polls, he's leading with 19% of the vote from Republican primary voters. Will he have to dial it back a bit for the debates to prove he's serious, or does he need that bluster to stay ahead?
You know, I think he will dial it back. I think he's going to be on his best behavior. He's said things that have indicated that, at least to the extent he can, because I think he realizes probably that he's at a point now where either he starts to look presidential or this summer phenomenon that you described is exactly that. It's a summer phenomenon that fades away. Because what he's done is he's established himself as the candidate who appeals to angry, disaffected, disillusioned voters, and there's a big chunk of them in the Republican Party, just as there is a big chunk of them in the Democratic Party. But that's a self-limiting audience. If he's going to be a serious candidate, he's going to have to look a little more reasonable and rational, and he's going to have to talk about policy, not just attitude.
All right, now to Jeb Bush, Jerry. Many conservatives are a bit skeptical of some of the issues he supports, among them the Common Core and a path for legal status for immigrants. So how can he stand out without alienating the base, and doesn't his moderation ultimately make him more electable in the general election?
Well, it probably does. He probably is the more electable of the candidates for that reason. But there's also a Jeb Bush story about the fact that he was a fairly conservative, in some ways a very conservative governor of Florida. So he's got a story to tell to the conservative base, which is that, okay, you disagree with me on Common Core and immigration, but let me tell you the story of the way I was a conservative chief executive of the state of Florida. And that's a good story, and it's a fairly convincing one, and he got a lot of credit among conservatives for being a conservative, a fiscal conservative in particular, when he was governor of Florida. So one of his challenges tonight is to get that story through to the extent you can break through in a crowded debate format where everybody's trying to pay attention to Donald Trump. But I think Jeb Bush can do that. I think in the end, if he does do that, he's the beneficiary of the Trump phenomenon because he looks like a safe bet for people who are scared by the Trump idea.
Okay, and looking at Scott Walker and Marco Rubio, are their play-it-safe strategies failing here? What do they need to stand out tonight and get back a bit of that spotlight Trump seems to have stolen?
Well, I think in the case of Marco Rubio, I think he's always been the kind of a candidate who just needs to show up on a debate stage and tell people who don't know and remind people who do that he's got a lot of natural attributes. He's a likable personality. He's very articulate. He's quick on his feet. He's kind of been eclipsed a little bit by the Trump phenomenon. This is a chance for him to bring his natural assets to the stage and remind people that they're there in the first place. As far as Scott Walker is concerned, I think one of the things he's going to be challenged to do here is to break out of the kind of conservative governor of Wisconsin who fought the unions effectively mold. In other words, that's good as far as it goes, but there are going to be some questions about can he really discuss and debate foreign policy effectively and nimbly? Is he a one-note candidate, or does he have a broader reach? Conservatives like him; they will always like him. The question is, can he go beyond that? I think, and that's his challenge in this debate and the future ones as well.
Okay, now, Jerry, this isn't the only debate happening tonight. There's another one at 5 p.m. featuring Rick Perry, Rick Santorum, Bobby Jindal, Carly Fiorina, Lindsey Graham, George Pataki, and Jim Gilmore. Phew. Yeah. How important is this debate for them and the GOP?
You know, I think it's important. I also think it's worth noting that, you know, that may be it could easily be the more substantive of the two conversations. You know, you're going to have, in particular on national security, some people in that group, Rick Santorum and Lindsey Graham, who don't get a lot of attention as potential nominees, but who actually are very adept and have thought a lot about national security issues. You know, that's a substantive group of people. Carly Fiorina has attracted a lot of attention from those who have actually seen her, and she again gets overshadowed by the bigger, more well-known political names, but she's been pretty impressive out in the real world in the field so far. And if she brings that tonight, I think even though it's the not primetime debate, I think people can step out and stand out in that environment. So I think it's important to them, and it's probably going to be a worthwhile discussion to listen to just because it will be substantive.
Absolutely. Jerry, thank you so much for that. We'll certainly all be watching tonight. Thank you.
Sure.